Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my August and September wrap up. I decided that I want to start doing these along with journaling my favorites, so I separate my reading and then my journaling. So we're going to try it out. I wanted to do this in August, but then I kept putting it off, and then by the time I knew it, it was already mid-September. And I was in a massive slump in September, so I'm just going to combine both months. I did read a lot in August, and I only read 4 books last month, I believe. So that's tragic. But let's get into it. So the first thing I read in August was I binged the Boys series. Binge read this on my Kindle, and then the author kindly sent these over to me with the help of Valentine PR, and I'm obsessed with this series. So it's an interconnected standalone series, so each book follows a different boy in the friend group and then their love story. So my favorites were definitely Teddy and Cole's books. They were chef's kiss, top tier, love, fake dating, forced proximity. Those were the vibes. And then I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was one of my book of the month picks. It's about this, it's basically Miss Congeniality, sort of. It's about a girl bodyguard, secret service, not secret service, but she works for a bodyguard company, and she has to be a bodyguard for this famous actor. But he has to go home, and he doesn't want his parents to know that he needs a bodyguard, so they're fake dating for his family's sake. And I absolutely love this book. I didn't know what to expect because I only saw one person talking about it, who was one of my best friends. So I picked it up and it did not disappoint. I loved this. Then I read One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was a buddy read slash book club that I have with my best friend slash pen pal, and this was August pick. So the only Taylor Jenkins Reid I read was Daisy Jones and the Six, and that set the standards super high. I still loved this, but it definitely wasn't as captivating as Daisy Jones and the Six. I cannot wait for the movie because it has Simu Liu. I did make the mistake of searching which boy he's playing, because if you don't know what this book is about, it's about this girl who marries her high school sweetheart, and then he goes missing in a helicopter crash or a plane crash, I can't remember. I think it was helicopter. And then years go by and she starts dating another boy from her past who worked for her parents in high school. But then you find out in like literally the first chapter that her first husband did not die. So I looked up which one Simu Liu was playing, and that's who I rooted for. But I feel like it would have been the same regardless, you know? And then I reread All the Little Lies, which is the first book in the English Prep series. I am annotating this, or not am, I've annotated this for one of my friends, and she's annotating me the second book in the Dirty Air series. But yeah, I wanted her to start this series, so I said I'll do the first one for you. This is Childhood Friends to Enemies to Lovers. The third book in this series is actually one of my favorite books. Like, I'm obsessed with the third book, but this one is still just as good. I love this friend group so much. So yeah, you definitely have to look up trigger warnings for this series, but look at the discreet covers are stunning. And then I got an arc of Lightlark by Alex Astor at Y'all West in May, and I decided to read it before it came out because I kept seeing it on my TikTok. But then as I was reading it is when like all the drama happened. I tried not to let any outside forces affect my opinion on this book. So here's where I had a situation with the book, is because when I saw it, when I got it at Y'all West, it was being promoted as like the new Hunger Games. That's why I went in line and I got the ARC. And then I saw the author's TikTok and she was also promoting it that way and promoting it like diversely. It had like 2 diverse characters, I believe. I don't know, I could be mistaken on that, but it definitely wasn't the Hunger Games. I believe it's setting up to have, you know, the killings in the second book, maybe. There was absolutely nothing Hunger Games related in this. There was a rule that there is no killings, so it just wasn't what I had in mind, you know. And there was a weird age gap thing, fantasy thing going on. Not really sure. I did, once I got into it, I did read it pretty fast, so it did captivate me, but I felt like it just wasn't for me. I'm not one to bash on books or anything, but this one wasn't for me. Maybe you would like it if you picked it up yourself, you know. Moral of the story, it's not like the Hunger Games, so don't go into it thinking. That is probably why I didn't enjoy it, because I expected something completely different. And then for the past month, at that point, I was annotating the Bad Reputation duet for my best friend Ellie, and I'm so excited to give this to her. I feel like I could have done a little better, but she is what she is. This is the like spin-off after the Addicted / Calloway series. This is about Garrison and Willow, who are one of my favorite couples ever. They are like just under Lily and Lo for me. It's hard for me to rank the 4 couples in the core 8 in the series, but Willow, Hale, and Garrison Abby just speak to my soul, if that makes sense. They're definitely some soul characters of mine. I love my little nerdy couples, shy girl, bad boy-esque. I can't really say what this one is about because this is the end of the series, but if you still haven't started the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series, this is your sign to get on it. I read The Infinity Between Us by Ennis Perkins. I read this in one sitting. It's very, very short. It is a second chance summer romance, and I loved it so much. Also, shout out to my friend Christina, who sent me this book for my birthday. It's just a second chance romance, and those just hit different sometimes, you know. It was very, very cute. That's all I really have to say about it. Very cute, light summer read. Summer's over, so you probably don't want that now, but next summer maybe. Then I read a book on Kindle Unlimited by the same author of the Boys series because I loved it so much, and I wanted to try another book. I read Desperately Seeking Roommate, which was Forced Proximity. I honestly can't remember if it was the girl or the boy that was in need of a roommate. But then they start living together and it's that type of vibe. You know what? I think it's the girl and the guy is popular on campus. And then he moves in. And here's the thing. I loved it up until the 3rd act breakup. Like, I didn't like the reasoning, I think. And I thought it was really random, so I gave this one 3 stars just for that alone, but I loved it up until that point. I reread The Inheritance Games because the 3rd book in this series, the 3rd and final book, came out at the end of August, so I was like, let me reread and then I can catch up and have a little refresher. This is one of my favorite books and series. The 3rd one, we'll talk about it when I get to it, but it's basically Knives Out, if you've seen that movie, and we got 4 very hot brothers. The girl randomly gets the inheritance of this rich old man who she's never met before, and it's basically trying to figure out why and find all the clues. There is a little love triangle between brothers in this, which is a subplot. But just know that one of the brothers has my whole entire heart. Actually, all of them do, one more than the others. Then I read another book on Kindle called Trapped with You by Marzi Opal. I don't know if I said that right, sorry. This was a darker romance, and it kind of was very interesting. It was a second chance romance, and it was kind of takes place during like a dare night, which I think dare nights are so interesting, so it did intrigue me. It wasn't my favorite book, but I had a great time and I binged it. And then I read Consider Me by Becca Mack on my Kindle, which is a hockey romance, and it is now one of my favorite sports romances. I read one this month that probably topped it, but I loved this book so much. It's a hockey sports romance. My only complaint was that it was a tad longer than it needed to be. I feel like the banter was perfection. Like, I loved them so much, and I'm so excited to read the sequel about another person in that friend group when it comes out this month. And then for another Kindle book, I started the first book in the Callahan series, which I read The College Years by Monica Murphy in January of this year. And then after I read it, I found out that there was like a series set before this when those boys are in high school. So I started that. I really liked the first one, and then I read the second one, which is Falling for Her by Monica Murphy. I didn't like that one as much because the guys were typical high school boys where they were like lad's lad, and they just like said things that were just very misogynistic, and I just wasn't into it. They had a little bit of redemption when it's the college years, because Caleb and the Callahan series, not for me. Caleb and the college years, everything to me. The second book in the Inheritance Game series, I'm not going to give you a synopsis because it's the second book, but the mystery continues, more clues, more love, just perfection. And then I read the third book in the Callahan series, and I loved that one. Eli, it's rival schools. The girl is the daughter of the head coach, who was a big NFL player, and then her love interest is the rival for the other school, who is the big like quarterback. And that was so good. I loved it. I still need to continue this series though. I read The Final Gambit, which is the third and final Inheritance Games book. So many thoughts. I keep going between 3 and 4 stars for this one. There was just certain things, like the characters weren't the same as they were in the first 2 books. Like, she just said character development, we don't know her, throw it out the window. It was like it was different characters. But I love Xander Nash Hawthorne so much. I still liked the ending, and I feel like there could be a spin-off series if she wanted to write. So, you know, I think she should. That's all I have to say without spoiling it. And then those were all the books that I read in August. So I read 5 books in September, the first one being Heartbones. I started this in August, but I finished it like the first few days of September. This was the only Colleen Hoover book that I own that I haven't read yet, and it was a summer romance. I liked this one. Not my favorite Colleen Hoover, but it was very cute and interesting. And then after Heartbones is when the slump just kicked into hard drive. I couldn't focus on any book. Like, at all. And so I decided to pick up a reread. So I reread Wreck My Plans by Kelsey Clayton, which is the 3rd book in the North Haven University series, and my favorite book from this friend group. So we have the Haven Grace Prep series, which is 4 books, and then we have the North Haven University, which all of those 8 books are in the same friend group. They're interconnected standalones. Look at the trigger warnings, but one of my favorite reads of this year for sure. My friend Ellie recommended them to me, and bless her heart, because I love this book so much. Each book has like different tropes. This one is basically the girl is trying to ruin the guy Carter's life because she thinks he did something. I'm not going to say what because I don't want to spoil anything for the previous books, but they have this like connection between each other. It's kind of forbidden because she's not supposed to like him, and I love it. Carter has great character development in this series because in the first few books he is such an ass, and then he becomes a better person, and I just love him so much. I think it was like a week and I hadn't touched a book, and so when that happens I have no choice but to pick up The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I don't even know how many times I've read this, but this is my go-to when I'm feeling that way, and then I read it in like a day. That's what happens. And then I picked up this book on Kindle Unlimited, and now I own it because I'm going to annotate it for my friend and give it to her for Christmas, but I still don't own it for myself, which is heartbreaking. But I read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Everybody and their mother is talking about this book. My friend Ellie does the TikToks for this book on the author's account, and she's killing it. This is about a figure skater girl and a hockey player boy, and they have close proximity because the hockey players have to practice in the figure skating ice rink for certain reasons, and then they develop a little friendship, and then the romance happens, and there is no third act breakup. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. They have such good communication, and anytime one of them is feeling a certain way, they express it to the other, and it's just the bare minimum when they express that the guy wants consent from the girl verbally, that whatever he's about to do she's okay with. It's the bare minimum, but it's so very attractive. I just love this. 5 out of 5 stars. This is definitely one of my new favorite sports romances, books, anything. The last book that I read, I finished it last night. I read it on my Kindle, and it was The Game Plan by Michaela Smelter, which, you know, wrote the Boy series and then the Desperately Seeking Roommate. I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked it. This was a hockey romance where it was bad boy, good girl, and he is an NHL player who was a playboy, and he's coming to this university to like work on himself, and there's also other issues that are happening with his career, and he meets our main character, and yeah, they have a friendship. It's fake dating. Here's the thing that upset me was the reasoning for the third act breakup. I can't even say like what it is without spoiling it, but I feel like it didn't make sense. I just wasn't a fan of it at all, so that's why it's not like a 4.5 or anything. So those are all the books that I read in August and September. I feel like I was kind of rambling. Sorry, I'm not used to doing these. I'm gonna get better at them. Sorry, I'll work on it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and Let me know what books that you read in September or August, and see you in my next video. Bye!